Iran continues its retaliatory strikes on West Asia with drones and missiles as this war enters its third week. While multiple countries have come under attack, the UAE has borne the most severe price of Tehran's military action against US and Israel. Earlier in the day, operations at the Dubai International Airport were suspended for a few hours after an Iranian drone hit a fuel tank in the vicinity of the airport. Flames and thick smoke were seen rising in this area. Meanwhile, Iran continued to target oil infrastructure. A fire broke out in UAE's Fujairah industrial zone as a result of the falling debris of an Iranian drone following successful interception by the country's air defenses. This caused a minor injury to a Jordanian national as well. Now, as per the UAE's Ministry of Defense, it has engaged 304 ballistic missiles, 15 cruise missiles, and 1,627 drones from Iran since the beginning of this war. Data indicates that the barrage of attacks faced by the UAE is much more than other Gulf nations like Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. The UAE's Defense Ministry affirmed readiness to deal with any threats and ensure the protection of its sovereignty, security, and stability. In fact, it also revealed that 2 members of its armed forces had lost their lives while performing their duties. It also revealed that 5 civilians, including Pakistani, Nepali, and Bangladeshi citizens, had been killed so far. Apart from this, 145 people sustained minor to severe injuries, and these injured people include nationals of the UAE and 27 other countries, including India and Iran. Earlier, Iran had claimed to have attacked the Al Dhafra air base. The UAE minister, Reem Al-Hashimi, has confirmed that her country has borne the brunt of most of these drones and missiles fired by Iran. In an interview, she condemned Iran's unhinged attacks and ruled out reconsidering hosting US bases in UAE.
It's been pretty unprecedented what's happened and almost unhinged, I would say, to have Iran lash out at the very people who've been calling for de-escalation, who've been calling for this war to never actually even start, which has really taken us by surprise.
On the other hand, UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed held another telephonic conversation with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to discuss the continued Iranian attacks targeting West Asia. Both sides stressed the need for immediate cessation of military escalation and called for prioritizing dialogue. Earlier, the UAE had rejected Iran's claim that American strikes on the Karg island originated from its own territory. The UAE president's diplomatic advisor, Anwar Gargash, stressed that his country had the right to defend itself but continues to maintain restraint. The night sky over Beirut continues to glow orange as relentless Israeli airstrikes hammer the Lebanese capital, even as thousands of civilians are now being forced out of their homes, driven into uncertainty. The aftermath of the latest strikes reveals the true scale of devastation on ground. On Lebanon's southern border, military activity is rapidly escalating. Israel says its troops have now launched limited ground operations against Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon, a move that it claims is aimed at strengthening its forward defensive lines, while also trying to weaken Hezbollah strongholds. The IDF has revealed video footage as well, showing its troops operating inside southern Lebanon. The Israeli military claims its forces have pushed as much as 9 kilometers into Lebanese territory, setting the stage for a possible larger ground advance, supported by artillery barrages and heavy firepower. Amid the ongoing military operation, Israel's defense minister has issued a fresh warning against Hezbollah.
Hezbollah will pay heavy prices for its aggression and activity in the Iranian axis to destroy Israel. Those who want to destroy have been destroyed and will be destroyed.
According to Lebanon's health ministry, the death toll from Israeli strikes since the 2nd of March has now crossed 850. But even as Israel continues to urge Lebanese civilians to evacuate, particularly in Beirut, Hezbollah has responded with one of its strongest warnings yet. The group says it is preparing for a long and brutal confrontation with Israel, one that it calls an existential battle.
Defeat and surrender is not in our dictionary. We will stay strong on the battlefield regardless of the sacrifices. We are ready until the end. This is an existential battle, not a limited or simple one.
According to Israeli media reports, despite the IDF's current advances, Israeli forces are still far from reaching the Litani River. This river flows from east to west, running parallel to the Israel-Lebanon border. After the Second Lebanon War in 2006, the United Nations had established this area between the Litani River and Israel-Lebanon border as a de facto buffer zone, effectively separating Hezbollah positions from Israel. A boundary that remains strategically significant even 2 decades later, because back in 2006, despite its military superiority, Israel had failed to defeat Hezbollah. In fact, the Israeli military had suffered heavy losses, both in terms of troops as well as armored equipment. And many analysts believe that Israel ultimately failed to achieve its core war objectives. Which brings us back to the strategic importance of the Litani River. North of this waterway, Hezbollah, despite being weakened by its 2024 conflict with Israel, still maintains a significant military presence there. And more importantly, the group continues to hold an edge in tactical warfare, particularly when it comes to asymmetric combat. Much of Hezbollah's military infrastructure is believed to be hidden deep underground, which means if Israel pushes for a full-scale ground invasion, especially beyond the Litani River, Hezbollah could hold a distinct advantage here, primarily due to its unconventional strategies and guerrilla warfare tactics. Large parts of southern Lebanon are filled with sloping hills and deep valleys, terrain that gives Hezbollah fighters a clear view of any advancing army, making it ideal for ambushes and guerrilla operations there. What makes Hezbollah even more deadly is how its fighters are trained. Small units of just 2 or 3 operatives are reportedly given the authority to make autonomous decisions on the battlefield. So in practical terms, this means a team can set up a weapon system, launch an attack, and disappear from the area in as little as 28 seconds. Hezbollah is also believed to control hundreds of kilometers of tunnels, along with natural caves engineered in a way that allows fighters to hide and strike at the rear of advancing forces. Now, as Israel prepares for further ground operations in Lebanon, the shadow of the Second Lebanon War 20 years ago, combined with Hezbollah's latest warning, are all likely to loom. A new report about the rise of anti-Semitism on university campuses across the UK is raising serious concerns among students and student bodies. Research by the Union of Jewish Students, which represents Jewish students in Britain, found that 1 in 5 university students would be reluctant to share a house with a Jewish student. Now, the study is based on a survey of 1,000 students from different religious and social backgrounds. It suggests that hostility towards Jewish students is becoming increasingly normalized in campus life. As per reports, the research contains about 20% of the respondents said that they would feel uncomfortable living with a Jewish student. Nearly a quarter of about 23% said that they had witnessed behavior targeting Jewish students because of their religion or ethnicity. This report also highlights concerns about extremist rhetoric during campus protests linked to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Nearly 49% said that they had heard slogans or chants praising or glorifying groups such as Hamas and Hezbollah, both of which are proscribed terror organizations in the UK. 47% of students said they had seen or heard people justifying the 7th October attacks. Among the students who regularly encounter the Israel-Palestine protests on campus, that number rises sharply to 77%. Now, the survey found that campus protests are having a wider impact on university life. About 65% of students said demonstrations have disrupted learning activities. 40% changed routes on campus to avoid protests or blockades. 69% disapproved of protests blocking access to classes, and 82% say that calls to globalize the intifada are anti-Semitic. Now, this issue has drawn a response from the British government as well. Earlier this month, the UK government announced new measures to help universities protect students from extremism, harassment and intimidation. The Regulator Office for Students will be given stronger powers to ensure universities take action when serious concerns are raised. UK Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has said that universities must do more to protect Jewish students from discrimination and harassment on campus. It also calls for tougher regulation of student unions, including closer oversight by universities and the Charity Commission, as well as a national counter-extremism strategy specifically addressing radicalization in universities. Community organizations say they will continue working with universities and the government to combat anti-Semitism and ensure Jewish students can live and study on campus without fear or discrimination. North Korea witnessed an unprecedented participation in its latest parliamentary elections, claiming an extraordinary voter turnout of 99.99%. The state media says that it reflects the unity of the nation. As per reports, nearly every eligible citizen participated in the polls for the country's Supreme People's Assembly. Voters were presented with just one state-approved candidate for each seat. The state news agency reported a turnout close to 100%, with all ballots cast in support of the nominated candidates. However, in a surprising development, the Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un was not among the 687 candidates on the ballot this time. Remember, it marks the first occasion that a North Korean leader has not held a seat in the country's legislature. Analysts suggest that Kim's absence will bolster Pyongyang, who will project an image of a more structured government with a formal separation between executive leadership and the legislative body. Kim Yo-jong, the leader's younger sister and a rising political figure, was reportedly among those elected to the assembly. About 0.015% of the North Korean eligible voters did not take part in this election, as per the state media. Authorities claim those who missed the vote were mostly citizens working abroad or at sea. With an electorate estimated at over 17 million people, that fraction represents just a few thousand individuals. The state media also emphasized that special measures, including mobile ballot boxes for the elderly and ill, were used to ensure nearly universal participation. Defectors and analysts say this election process also functions as an unofficial census, allowing the government to identify any citizens who may have gone missing or defected. The results mirror a pattern seen in previous North Korean elections. In the last major parliamentary polls in 2014, authorities had reported a turnout of about 99.7%, approval for all the single candidates on the ballot. Like the latest poll, those elections were widely criticized internationally as a rubber stamp process designed to formally approve decisions already made by the ruling party. The Supreme People's Assembly or the North Korean Parliament usually meets only once or twice a year, primarily to approve policies and decisions previously set by the ruling Workers' Party led by Kim Jong-un.